when I came here, I saw, wow, it's all completely different. I felt that women have more choices, not always wise, but they do. That's part of my mission, to teach them to be, less emotional, more strategic in the selection of their partner, that she has equal rights to the marital assets. Doesn't matter who is out there driving, and doesn't matter who is here playing with the dogs, They're both together. I say she has to have it all on paper. If it's not on paper, it's not there.
Welcome to 60 Minutes with a Woman. Today we have Olga Alsias, Charmschool CEO. Welcome, Olga. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for inviting me. Pleasure to be here.
I reached out to you on social media because your content immediately caught my attention. You are bold and provocative, especially when speaking about women's issues, and you consistently push to awaken a deeper truth, especially around ways women repeat certain patterns or avoid sometimes seeing what's really happening. So here's one example.
When a man says, I don't want anything serious right now, just add with you, okay? Yeah. And that's how you interpret it.
Why do men want to get on your pants fast and for free and then turn around and throw it in your face that you were too easy?
All right, Olga, I think that now the audience has a little glimpse of who you are. Let's get to know you on a personal level. Olga, tell us more about who you are and what is your story. You grew up in Soviet Russia during the 1980s. How did that experience shape your personality, your understanding of life, and the expectations or vision you developed for the future?
Well, growing up in Soviet Union was a completely different experience than how we know life here. So it was more, I say, a survival and not just, living, because the system was designed the way that nothing belonged to you. Everything was decided for you. Everybody went to the same school, worked practically in the same place, lived in the same type of housing. So I felt like, even though I was young, I felt like I have no impact on the environment around me. And then I thought, so where can I have an impact? And I thought about it, and I thought that the only impact I could have is on people around me, to change something in my life. So for that, I had to know how people operate. So I started paying attention, people's behavior patterns, group dynamics, power shifts, emotions, decision-making, things like that. And I had to be kind of rough, in that environment. So if my content does sound a little bit blunt to the ear of the viewers here, well, that's because softness was not an option over there.
It's like it's funny because people from Russia or Eastern Europe are perceived sometimes a little, like you mentioned, blunt or rough, but we don't even realize, what it must be like growing up there. One of the topics you discuss the most often is relationships.
What's the point of living in a palace but still walking on eggshells? A generous man is 10 times better than a rich man.
A man asks, do you cook? It's never about food. Say, sure, I'll saute, simmer, and serve if you provide, protect, and profess.
So you just spoke about the fact that you studied people, but you went deeper than that. You went into, and we are talking about love type of relationships. What's your understanding of a relationship? What was your understanding of relationship earlier in your life, and how that perspective evolved over time?
Relationships between boys and girls, first of all, when we grew up, as I see, were completely different than what I see boys and girls here. So that already was different. We were kind of totally two different groups, where in the movies, when I saw, let's say, 90210 Beverly Hills, I was like, oh my goodness, they're all together, they're in groups, they do parties and stuff. And I'm like, and what is this? So we were not segregated by system. We all went to the same school, but there was, like, especially in the younger grades, I guess, so there was a total, like a separation. Boys and girls didn't do anything together.
Really?
And also, in grown-up world, there are way many women, or were, I think still are, in our country than men. So it was customary for a woman to wait to be picked by a man. The man chose. When I came here, I saw, wow, it's all completely different. I felt that women have more choices, not always wise, but they do. It's like a buffet of choices without the portion control. Men were more gentle, and this whole thing, happy wife, happy life, I was like, wow, this is great. So, we can work with this. And knowing how things are here, I see that women are empowered, and that's part of my mission, to teach them to be, less emotional, more strategic in the selection of their partner, because the environment does allow for that.
Wow, I love it. You know what? I was going to ask you if now, when you immigrated to the US, you saw differences, cultural differences. Obviously, you just mentioned that. I want to ask you then another question. When you realized that, when you were able to compare, because you're here now, you got like the version from Russia, you had the version from the US. I understand that in Russia, men are a lot more, I'm going to say, old school, in a sense where they provide, in a sense where the woman doesn't always work. It does happen, but she doesn't have to. They understand that this is their role. And there's just an understanding of who is the woman and who is the man in the couple. Versus here in the US, I think this line has been crossed, and now it's a little confusing. But we do have a lot more rights, and there is a lot more openness in a couple for conversation, communication, and growth. So I'd like to ask you, what's your viewpoint on this?
For sure. Where I grew up, the roles were very, obvious. So the man works, provides. Most women worked too, but they were not the breadwinners. So when women would select a man, they would look at him as a provider, as the breadwinner, and not necessarily as an emotional support partner or anybody to really communicate with. And the model of the family over there at that time, and I think still now, is more like a child-centric, like the family is parents and children. That's the family. Mm-hmm. Where here in the US, family is a husband and wife. And kids are there for 18 years, and they fly out of the nest, and then we are together again. So I kind of grew up with an idea that the man is not there for an emotional thing, it's just, I was not sure I was going to have children or not, but that was the idea. And I think the way that impacted me is as I analyze, I dated and married those kind of men, strong, opinionated, know how to make a decision. The funny part, my dad was completely not like that. He was the softest softie in the world, and my mother ruled the roost, So, and when they say girls typically look at their dad for a man to marry, Well, I think I dated and I married my mothers, so I did not marry my father. I married my mother. So even though they say, oh, well, you're going to be trying to get away from that. Nope, right straight back in that bucket, so.
Well, they say that, but at the same time, the brain makes the decision that where it feels the most familiar, right? So if now this is what you know, and this is the qualities that are needed to survive, you probably will lean into that. Or maybe you didn't want to be your mom because she had to do everything and she was the strong one. So you went for men who were a little more. This is what you said, right? You mentioned that you kind of married your mom. So you went for men who were a little like her because you knew this is what was needed once again for survival. So
right. I'm not a leader. I tried many management roles in different companies, and I was always on the side of employees. I could never tell them you're late or here's your write-up. I'm like, no, So I'm not a leader in that way, But like we say in Russia, the man is the head and the woman is the neck. But wherever the neck turns, that's where the head looks. So I do serve my purpose, I guess. So I do participate in a lot of decisions, especially important ones. Yes.
And regarding the understanding of the two relationships we just mentioned now in Russia and the US, which one is the one that you will go for? Maybe that you think is better, and why?
Idealistically, it would be a hybrid.
A hybrid of both.
A hybrid of both. I definitely want, and I am married to a provider. We have a transportation business, so he is the major income. But at the same time, I think that the woman should position herself where she feels, and the husband feels, rightfully so, that she has equal rights to the marital assets. Doesn't matter who is out there driving, and doesn't matter who is here playing with the dogs, They're both together. This is how they decided it to be. And this is how, it's equally divided. And you cannot, sometimes you can measure somebody's labor in dollars, but the decision making, how I put him to make those dollars, right? Who talked to the brokers? Who negotiated? Who, softened the blow when it's there? So how do you measure that? And I think it has to be more kind of official, So if the man works and he has a 401k, IRA plan, retirement, investment, whatever, the woman who doesn't have that, at least let's say at that moment, I think she should have her own official retirement plan, savings account, investment account, and things like that. Because if it comes to divorce, there's always all this, oh, I'll take you off my life insurance policy, or I'll take you off of that. Well, to avoid all that, we all want to be married forever and die within a day of each other, right? So, but statistics is a cookie. So, and it says otherwise. And 50% of first marriages, 60 of the second, and 80 of the third. How about that? So, knowing that, I say she has to have it all on paper. If it's not on paper, it's not there.
I agree with that. It's funny that you're bringing this up because I had conversations with newlywed friends, and the first thing that I brought, obviously it's not the first thing that I brought, but one of the things that I brought is, it would be wise to maybe just have some sort of contract, speaking about, because she has a house and he had all other assets, mainly in crypto. And I was thinking to myself, it's always great until it's not. And instead of playing dirty when everybody is emotionally challenged by the situation, it's better to have it on writing, just like you would do with a a will. So 100% to me, when you get married, it's supposed to come with the contract that you signed that unifies you, but also the agreement of what your marriage is going to look like, what belongs to you, what belongs to her, to him, and in case of a rupture, what happens. Super important conversations to have. Yeah, I totally back you on this.
And that's why I advocate for a prenup. People feel it's unromantic or whatever, but I think that it's all in the words. It's not like what you guys get in case of divorce. You can frame it like this: if something were to happen, what do you feel you need to be able to take care of your life? And
exactly.
You have to know what kind of state you live in, where you're married. So Florida laws are completely different from Texas, New York, and California. So you have to, and it's not a preparation, for the divorce.
No, you're not preparing for the worst. Absolutely not.
Happen.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm an advocate for that. And again, statistics says that marriages with a prenuptial agreement have a 15% divorce rate compared to 50 and up without.
Wow.
Check that. Yeah.
That says a lot. That says a lot about rationalizing basically your union and the marriage and the institution of marriage. Yeah, it doesn't have to be ugly at the end. I love it. And now that because you're very soft and sweet at the moment, but I want to dive into the way you provoke people and you shake them to wake up. So some of the subjects you've been discussing on your social media, which I will link in the description because I really want you guys to go and follow her. Dating a med school student doesn't mean you'll become a doctor's wife. Boom. What to do if your man is checking out another woman? When you meet a man at his lowest point, he always leaves you once he's back on his feet. When you date a single mom, you are always put last, but you are expected to have responsibility without having any rights. Wow. How do you even pick your subjects?
I think these subjects, they are just walking around me, they are around. One of my favorite movies is The Accountant with Ben Affleck and the other guy, right? And when the second one came out, I got a poster. I went to one of the first shows and I got a poster. And there's two brothers on the poster, one and one. And it says, he sees what others don't, and he does what others won't. So I feel that I speak loudly about the things that people whisper about. Right. And sometimes they don't even utter those things. They are in their heads. It's all around them. And I want to bring the attention to them because a lot of things get ignored. We don't pay attention. Too busy, or we have these cognitive biases. It's like, some smokers get in trouble, with the lungs from smoking, but that happens to them. It's not going to happen to me. They get a divorce. It's not going to happen to me. He doesn't wear a ring. He's a bad husband, but mine doesn't wear it. Is okay. Well, I want to wake women up before life does, because life lessons are expensive, and I feel like I provide a free version for them.
So we talked about how you created these wake-up calls for people, because it's not only women. You do it for men as well, but women are your priority. It's really clear that you're concerned about women's well-being, and you even put together some materials covering crucial topics like capitalist ripple effect of the divorce, different types of investment and strategies to avoid financial hardship after divorce. I want to ask you, what motivated you to support women in these areas?
Well, unfortunately, some of the personal experiences and just being unaware of how things were here. In Russia, it's all cash basis. Now it's different. They have credit, they have investment,
Right.
things like that. When I first came here and I gave this card to the cashier at a store, they said debit or credit. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Is she saying some bad things? And I said, yes, so I had no idea about this. I think the financial system is so complicated. Older generations don't know. Maybe newer ones are a little bit up to speed on this. I also worked in car sales for 13 years. I had 2 of my own car dealerships, and I did auto finance. And I saw how this divorce and everything is so confusing to women. They come and they say, oh, well, that car went to him with the divorce. Well, you know what? Divorce papers are different, and a bank loan is different. You signed on it unless it's refinanced, you are still on it. So she thinks that if she's not driving the car, she's not responsible for it. A lot of times it was too late. They couldn't get what they needed at that time, a car for their kids, things like that. I knew this older couple when I first came to the US. I worked with the young, old gentleman. He came with the church, and then I came and I was their friends with them here. So he died at the age of, 73. And then Martha was calling me and said, Olga, I don't know how to write a check. She didn't know how to write a check. She doesn't know how to pay the bills. She doesn't know anything. So, and I just feel like, they're at the disadvantage. I think this is the knowledge that's out there, very crucial to their life, but they just don't know. So whatever I know, I want to share.
Yeah. I think that it's been a patriarchal society for millennia, and women have started to vote, 40 years ago? It's still brand new. We're speaking about maybe 4 generations, knowing that the 2 first one were still probably under the same system that they used to be before we started to have more rights. And your generations were getting acquainted was handling money, and then women started to get more opportunities, and then everything started to obviously pick up at that moment. But we haven't tackled the issue of the finances. And I think that in a couple, especially when you have a man and a woman, you always have somebody who's taking care of that because somebody else is taking care of the other things in the house. And we don't realize how important it is to know about how to run the house on a financial level, how to run your finances, how to budget your life, an exit strategy. You really got to treat it as a business somehow. And I think that women are still missing out on that. Actually, women retire with 33% less income than men, still to this day. And it really speaks volume about the lack of financial education and the lack of even interest women have for financial literacy. I think that it's by raising awareness that we're going to put an end to this and finally empower women to understand you're dealing with money every single day. It's about time you get to understand what it does for you.
There is even a term now. It's called financial abuse. Can you believe that? And women, I saw this one lady, she is surprised with the divorce. She was a stay-at-home mom, which is a trap in its own way anyway,
Right.
if that's all you do. You trust completely this other person, the love of your life and things like that. Boom, he has a midlife crisis, something blood in the head and off to the greener pastures. And that's what happened to her. And her lawyer is telling now that she experienced financial abuse. And everybody is writing like, how did you not know that? She said, well, I didn't know. I didn't have access to bank accounts. I didn't have access to retirement, anything. Now he conveniently lost his job. She's off insurance and things like that. And she's struggling, and the way the system is designed, even she is awarded something. Well, guess what? Half of zero is zero. She spent thousands of dollars on lawyers, because it's going to trial and things like that. But in the end, if he doesn't have anything, what is she going to do? And if she prepared for things like that, hopefully nothing happens, and then even better when, in the retirement years. But if something like this happens, she could have had her own everything. And then whatever comes from, divorce, that's an extra. So
I want to ask you a question that it's not exactly what we decided to speak about, but it's still it's surfing on this wave, and it's out of curiosity. I want to know what you're thinking about women who sometimes struggle with the decision of putting their career or life aside because they want to still have a family and somebody needs to take care of the kids, so they stay at home. Therefore, they're not building their future. They're not ensuring that they're going to get money if something happens. They rely 100% on their partner. What should they do, these women, to make sure they're safe?
And it does happen. And, God hasn't invented any other way to have children yet. Well, maybe in some cases, but women, have birth and they're pregnant, and then they are, out of a workforce for a while. What I think right now in 2025, there hasn't been more opportunities for a woman to turn that time she is at home into a money-making activity or development activity. So kids sleep sometime, right? So I don't know. I don't have them, but I'm sure they do sleep sometimes. So you have to write yourself a plan. You have to kind of inventory your skills and your ideas, what you can do. There's an online business. You don't have to go anywhere. We were all locked up, a few years ago at home. How many people sprung to the social media? You can sell something. You can sell something for somebody. You can start an account. You can start a small business. You can learn accounting. Anything you can do from home. And schedules are so flexible. When I went to school, it's 5 years of whatever classes, and that's it. If you miss it, you're out. Here is very flexible. So that's what I would suggest.
So you would say build a skill. It's not because you're a stay-at-home mom that it is your entire identity. Make sure to know how to do something. And so if something happens, you're not in the world completely abandoned by what you thought was going to be a forever relationship. So that would be what you suggest.
Right. And some small businesses, like they say, a job is not a job when it's your hobby and things like that. Sometimes it goes the other way. So let's say you were an accountant, you know how to do taxes, okay, so you cannot go out and do it there. Guess what? Start a channel about how to do taxes yourself, or let me be your consultant. Let me do something, fitness, the same thing. Now it's fitness with the baby. Now it's fitness at home. So you just do little modification of something that you already know what to do. Or you make pots, okay, make them on camera. You paint little pictures, paint them on camera. Maybe somebody will want to learn what you're doing. Because when we have a skill, somehow we think everybody else knows how to do it. But it's not
I see
true.
What you mean.
Other people want to learn how to sing. Or knit or something. So everybody has some kind of skill,
Yes.
So that's the way, I think.
Or even like following a class about how to be an administrative assistant. You can always find gigs online. And this is a skill that'll serve you forever. Yeah, there is a lot a woman can do. I want to ask you another question on that note. In a situation where a woman invests in her husband's dream. Okay, so we are saying that she is basically pouring money into whatever the man has decided to do, but this is for the well-being of the couple. Obviously, you don't count when you love, and it's the growth of the couple as one, right? What's your thought on that? Should a woman do it? Should she not do it? And what does that mean for the couple?
Well, talking about support, I think, when we want it, we feel, okay, yeah, that's great. When the man wants it, he wants the same thing. However, just like the girlfriend of a medical student most likely won't be the doctor's wife. Again, yes, you have to help the career, but you have to do it with moderation. You don't need to live the life of that man. You have to, I guess, set some boundary and say, okay, I will help you with this, and then okay, you need some help, you need some organization, here you go, and then just continue on. Like, how can you be a couple if you're not supporting? But don't merge yourself, don't immerse yourself into that life,
Well, sometimes you don't have a choice, right? Let's say, for example, the business he wants to start is about $50,000. What you're going to do is most likely take a second mortgage on your home, so you can pull that $50,000 out and invest in his business. Therefore, you merge, like you mentioned, everything that belongs to you with him. And it's a huge commitment. What would you think do you think it's a good idea, or would you refrain from doing that?
I say go and maybe get another loan. Don't do anything with the house if that is possible. And again, I've seen these situations, husband gets carried away with an idea. Like, I have thousands of ideas every day, but I keep them to myself till a certain, step where I know something is materializing, and maybe then I will voice what I'm doing, or they may just happily die down and nothing to talk about. But this is more serious. And again, you cannot be so sure about how this is going to turn out. Sometimes I would say just take a risk, but not from which you cannot recover.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
Because I tell you, I worked in car sales. I am very tolerant to risk. They'll be like, I don't know, bullets flying. I'll be like, whoo, didn't get me. So I had cars that didn't make it from the auction to the dealership. They just blew up on the road. I've had all kinds of things. So I am used to risk, but it has to be calculated risk. You have to, and of course you can just sit there forever and write a thesis on it, and then the opportunity is gone. But you just have to know, it's like that sunk cost fallacy or something like that, like where you go and you play in the casino. Oh, another, three clicks and it's gonna do it. You have to know where to stop if it's not going somewhere. Just, don't just go for it just because it's a dream. You have to do your numbers. And
love it. Yeah.
If numbers are not there, they are not there. At some point, doesn't matter. You went to the movie, you spent $30, the movie sucks, but you're sitting there because you spent $30. Well, you're not going to get your money back if you sit till the end, right? So that's it. $30 gone. You don't like the movie, get out, do something else with this time. So if you see that, if you make an agreement, let's say that if it doesn't go right at this point, we withdraw. If it goes well, great,
I love it. I love that. Still back to, once again, educate yourself financially and act as an investor in your husband's dream. So, and I think that's the best approach because it's a calculated risk, once again, and you know how much you can recover from and what will carry you away. You've been through divorce yourself, and today you often challenge the resentment women carry in relationships. Many women stay far too long out of fear or out of guilt. Why do you think that happens, first of all? And what do you believe is the path to overcoming it?
I see it over and over again, and I see two things mainly. I think when a woman invests so much, again, the casino analogy, so much in this relationship, in this man, women love to fall in love with the potential. Men fall in love with what's in front of them, and they hope it doesn't change. A woman falls in love with the potential, and trying to then change this into her ideal, and either one doesn't work.
She wants to fix him.
She wants to fix him, and he wants her to stay the same the day he met her. But how is both possible, and so they sink all this effort in there, and then they're like, well, I haven't gotten the payback yet. Maybe they don't tell themselves that. They don't know it's that, but that's the pattern. Or sometimes they stay too long because of fear of guilt, fear of judgment, the children issue, connection with the dad, or the fear of being unprepared for the consequences of the divorce, or solo swimming, and how to get out of it. I think you have to be prepared. Whenever it's time for decision, it has to be made out of calculation and not out of panic.
Finances are a major part of any relationship. And today people laugh about the fact that, everybody splits everything, especially when it comes to the bill. Others believe that the man should be the one covering most of the expenses. And many women want a full financial independence. So we are really in the midst of, you pay for this date, but I want my money is my money, your money is my money, vice versa. What is your perspective on these expectations and why?
I think we touched on it a little bit. I would prefer the man to still be the provider, and the woman should have independence and freedom to maybe explore something new. If she wants to work, it's a lot of of it is individual. If she has her own career that she's enjoying, great. If she's going to work where the whole office is wondering what is she doing here, then probably that's not the one. So if she wants to work and contribute and do, that's fine. What I think about it, for sure, I don't want to be dependent on the man, and I don't want women to be dependent on the man where she's afraid to leave if something happens. Like I say that if you give the man the right to feed you, he thinks he has the right to starve you. So ladies, stash your cash. Stash your cash. So, and these phases can be in and out, and different parts of life can be different, but definitely I see the man as a main provider, but the woman, has to do what she can and what she wants in the finance department. That's what
You spoke about women being vulnerable and putting themselves in vulnerable situations, and that they shouldn't. That's your point of view. So how does a woman differentiate between normal marital disagreements and signs of deeper incompatibility?
I think that normal disagreements, which will happen, they will dissolve. They will be over soon after the disagreement. And the true incompatibility is when one partner feels complete and total and constant disrespect from the other partner, yes, or belittling, always unhappy. And so if you see that as a pattern, I think that is the sign of incompatibility. If you're constantly feeling that way and no matter what you do, it doesn't change, I think that's that.
Yeah, that is so very true. Sometimes we like to put blindfolds on, but I think our guts tell us when things are not right. When women write to you for unfiltered relationship advice, what patterns do you see the most?
I think when women write to me for advice, I think they're not confused. I think they already know what's going on. They know he's not providing. They know he is low effort. Then whatever it is, the question is, right? And they just need the validation of their thoughts. And
Yeah.
sometimes it acts as a permission for them to take control over their life. When I asked my mom once, I said, Mother, you told me how to read the book and do the math and this, like you were paying attention to that. Why didn't you teach me how to act with boys? And you know what she said one time?
Such a good question.
She said, I guess I didn't know myself. And I thought that was the probably most truthful, because my mother, she'll go like a fox. She is a spy. I tell her, if you're a spy and they get you, never the truth will come out. They'll never find out anything, because she will not answer straight. But here she just said, because I didn't know myself. So, and what was the second part? Like how to not repeat the pattern?
So the second part, basically, it's, yes, just the pattern that you see the most often.
The pattern I see most often, women stay too long. They hope for something that is not there. And again, not advocating divorce, but not every non-working relationship is a marriage. Sometimes it's just the beginning of the relationship, and she is just imagining things that are not there, and she's staying on and on and on, inventing this love thing. And in this case, I will ask the woman, if you saw this happening to a friend of yours or a loved one, what would you recommend her to do?
Right.
And that's how they start thinking from the outside. Because, we advise people all kinds of things. Then we turn around and eat the cheesecake in the bed, So yes, fitness and diet, and then we turn around and do our thing. So if her recommendation to somebody she likes or loves would be different than what she's doing now, that's how you stop this pattern.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I have the impression that we lack of love for ourselves, but we show up way more for people that we love. So if you know that you would never want to see somebody that you love in that situation, what would you allow yourself to stay there? It's such a good point. Such a good point. It speaks volume again about how much of a gut feeling the gut feelings that we have and we choose to ignore. And just the fact that women are willing to come to you and ask you the questions just so they can validate their point of view. I love that you have become this safe space for them.
I tell you,
incredible.
People tell me things that I don't think it's such a big secret. And then in the end, they'll be like, I told you all my secrets. I'm like, I didn't even notice there was anything, So
it's easy to talk to you.
That's great gift. I think so. I don't judge them. I will not pretend like, if somebody says, like in the Legally Blonde, remember how she said, you have a bad day? She's like, oh, this happened to me. And the nail lady, instead of saying, oh, but it will get better, whatever, she said, that's terrible. So, she validated the feelings. Instead of being all fake and artificial and, say what a nail lady would say for a tip, she said, that's terrible.
It's true. This is what people need. A lot more of true responses, not just optimistic point of views. Now I'm going to ask you, what is the one question you wish women would ask you more, but they rarely do?
If they asked me, how do I build a life so good that a man is just a bonus and not a rescue mission, I think their life would be 10 times better.
Yes.
And that would save them a lot of trouble.
So you think that we treat men as just like a goal, a project that we have in life, where we want this type of men in our life, and we rely too much on that?
I think it comes from childhood and fairy tales and things like that, and the literature and the culture. Maybe it's changing now, but women
been
are fed
conditioned,
this fairy
yes.
tale and of a ring and a white dress and things like that, and men are sold the real life, the real reality, and that's why the expectations and then the feelings and then the disappointments come out of the union. So if, I mean, yes, you want to be with a partner, that's great, but if something doesn't work out, you don't need to be, feeling weird, different, lonely, insufficient, inadequate, and things like that. So I think if they learn to be okay either way, they will be happy.
I love it. I love it, really. It's incredible how this perspective really shows how much, once again, we've been conditioned to think a certain way. The movies, the society, everything has just shaped our brain to turn a man into a life project. You're absolutely right. We put too much pressure on them, but beyond that, we put too much pressure on ourselves when it doesn't work. When it's just another step of life, it doesn't have to be, it's not that, I mean, it's serious, but it's not as emotionally hurtful as we think it is. Like you mentioned, men get away with it didn't work and that's fine, next. And we are so profoundly damaged after that. We really need to wrap our heads around the fact that what we inflict to us, we do it to ourselves, basically, really.
Think so.
Okay. I love it. Okay. So, we are actually getting to the end of this podcast, and I have 3 more questions. What is the most unpopular truth about relationships that you've never been afraid to say out loud?
I say this: nothing lasts forever. Keep that in mind. All these vows, till the death do us part. What if death comes early? God forbid, right? It's not a law. It's just a promise. Promises sometimes are made and broken. So if you think that way, you don't rely on it as your only life, raft or something like that, you will be fine. Just keep that in mind, that nothing, if somebody wants to leave the relationship, nothing will keep them. Not your tears, not your blackmail, not your persuasion, not the children, none of that. And I'm not advocating divorce. I'm all for staying married. But if that happens, don't be surprised. Be prepared.
Don't be surprised. Be prepared. Very wise words, really. Really. Looking ahead, what do you hope women take away from your work and your voice in this conversation?
I want women to walk away knowing that they're not stuck, they're not broken, they're not voiceless. And if it's sometimes they have to change their life and it didn't go the way they wanted, sometimes exit is another opportunity for a new entrance. Don't feel sorry. Don't grab on to all things. If it happened, it happened. Just put yourself together as soon as you can, and one foot in front of the other.
That's a powerful message. Thank you so very much for creating the community you're creating online. Again, I will write in the description down below all the ways you can get in touch with Olga. Olga, I can't thank you enough for accepting to be here and sit with me on the podcast and share all your wisdom. It has been a true privilege, and I had a really fun time. I hope you did too. It was incredible.
Thank you so much. I watch all your episodes, and I see so many different lives and so many different women, and learning from others is a good way, to learn. So we only live one time, and if we have an opportunity, which you give a great opportunity for women to learn fast and without big losses, I think it's great what you do too.
Thank you. I love that. I appreciate you for that. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to this episode.